I'll warn you, when you start doing this work, you're gonna cry. Most of us have some pent-up emotions and pent-up traumas that are so trapped in our nervous system that we have years probably of tears. The mind is separate from the body. I'll say that. You can do all the research you want. Science says the same thing, and all the spiritual readings say the same thing as well. The mind is separate from the body. So the way I like to explain the mind is like a river. It's like a river that's flowing with thoughts. Some of the thoughts are yours. Some of the thoughts are not yours. A lot of the thoughts are from the learned self. That flow of that river is dictated by the stones that line it and the stones that line the bed of it. And these stones are the beliefs that you've believed. So if you have beliefs that are limiting, beliefs that are negative, beliefs like I'm not good enough, beliefs like I'll never be good enough, beliefs like I'll never fit in, beliefs like money's hard to make, beliefs like life is difficult, beliefs like I'm always depressed, all these negative beliefs, then these stones, I want you to envision them as being large and very jagged stones sticking up from the bed of the river, and it causes a lot of turbulence in the flow of the river. And so your flow of thoughts, which is the river, is moving very rapidly. It's moving very rough, and you're standing in it. And so that's why when you have the flow of thoughts that are just consuming, it's just thought after thought after thought after thought, and you can't seem to slow it down, it's because you're standing in the river, and the river is lined with beliefs or stones that are negative, that are jagged and large. And all of those beliefs are what are shaping that flow of thoughts. And so your beliefs are shaping your thoughts, and your thoughts are informing your emotions and the feelings that you have. And so, another short story. Let's talk a little bit about emotions, because that's really the doorway into change. And so I'd pick my kids up from school. This is a handful of years ago, not too long ago. But I'd pick my kids up from school, and one of my older daughters was sitting in the front. My three younger ones were sitting in the back. And I had to make a quick stop at the post office. And so I said, hey, y'all, I need to go make a quick stop at the post office. Drop off a package. So I pulled in, I parked. I said, you guys just wait here. It's right outside. I grabbed the package. Everybody was great. It was after school. Had a pretty good day. Typical conversation. Hey, how was your day? What did you guys learn in school today? It was public school, so hey, it is what it is. That most of them really didn't learn much today. They go to private school now. So I grabbed the package, go into the post office. I come back out, get the car, shut the door. And I noticed that the whole energy in the car had changed. Everything had shifted. Everything was pretty good. Everyone was pretty happy, kind of tired from the day, but feeling pretty good. To now, all of a sudden, there was a weight. And so I looked at my older daughter. I said, what happened? And she says, you need to talk to your son. I said, what happened? He said he said some things to one of the other daughters, and I won't repeat them. And they were pretty hurtful things. And so I looked at him and I said, son, why did you say that? And he said, because I was mad. And so in that moment, it came to me, here's a good teaching moment. At the time, I had just got done to listen to some podcasts. I was very much in the good dad teaching mode. And so it was almost perfect timing. And so I said, he likes cars. So I said, what do you call this? I was sitting in the driver's seat. So what do you call this in front of me? Is a dashboard. Right. So what are some of these lights? We started talking about some of the indicator lights that can come on, like the tire pressure gate light, the check engine light, all this kind of stuff. I was like, so if I was driving down the road and that check engine light came on, what does that mean? He said, well, you got something wrong with your car. You need to pull over and check it out. I said, right. I said, so does it make sense when that check engine light comes on when I'm driving down the road, as I say, oh, I got something wrong with my car. I better start crashing around everybody else around me and making sure that they feel the same pain I have. Maybe I can get their check engine light to come on. And I start driving recklessly. I had the same conversation with another boy who said something mean to one of my daughters at the high school. That's a whole different story. And he's like, well, no, that'd be crazy, Dad. I said, exactly. I said, these indicator lights are like your emotions. Or better yet, your emotions are like these indicator lights. They're information. They're telling you there's something inside you that you need to look at, something inside you that you need to heal. So does it make sense then, if you look at it that way, that if I feel angry, that I take it out on my sister, that I take it out on anybody? Well, no. I said, okay. I said, remember that your emotions, and this is a lesson for you as well, your emotions are indicators. They're indicators. They're telling you it's a gift. It's telling you, it's a gift that God has given you to tell you that there's something going on inside you that you need to heal. Because disintegrated, unintegrated would be the word, unintegrated emotions, they get stuck. They get stuck in the nervous system, stuck in the body. And so when you have a trigger that activates that emotion, it's an opportunity for you to heal that emotion. And a lot of it has to do with love or something that may have happened as a child. And the process is learning, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, but the process is learning to feel and love that emotion. And so to recap what I just shared with you is, imagine the mind, which is separate from the body, as being a river. In that river flows thoughts. The water is thoughts. Lining that river are beliefs. They're stones. If you have healthy beliefs about who you are, about other people, and about the world, then you'll have a nice, calm, quiet river. And you'll have a nice, calm, quiet experience in life on the inside, in spite of what's going on the outside, because of your beliefs. Okay? Does that make sense? So now that you understand that the experiences we have on the outside of us in life, they're the result of the experiences we're having on the inside. And so the work that we have to do in order to have a better experience out here and a better experience in here is that inner work. Paul tells us in Romans, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. He spells it out clearly for us that the pathway to fulfilling our calling and purpose in life, because that's much of what Paul's letters are about, is the inner work. That's the work we have to do, right? And so I mentioned earlier about emotions being the doorway in. So what I want to do is I want to share something with you that I've learned here very recently, actually, as far as it really fulfilled the teaching that I've been doing is in as far as emotions being the doorway in and how to heal the emotions. And what I want to do is I want to share you another quick story. So we grew up, put it this way, we grew up very poor. We grew up what I call food bank poor, where we knew when the food bank was open, we had to make the trips to the food bank. They had the food stamps, all that kind of stuff. And I'm not saying that to make you feel bad for me or anything, but it created some beliefs in my mind, in the river of the mind, that were beliefs that were based off scarcity. And so no matter how much money I made, I was always living in this belief system of scarcity. And so I always experienced scarcity. And so it wasn't until I discovered that the emotions that I felt around money, the emotions of anxiety, the emotion of scarcity, the emotion of not having it enough, the concern, the anxiety, all these tension emotions that are felt like tension in the body. It wasn't until I discovered how to process those emotions that I began to really transform those beliefs. And so what I want to share with you is I want to share with you a quick process that I use, and I want you to try it in your own life. To begin to heal begin to do the work to heal. Now, I also want to say this: none of this is clinical. I am going to school. I am learning to be a licensed clinical mental health counselor, but none of this is clinical work. Okay, this is all stuff for entertainment purposes only. But I use it in real life. So what I'll do and what I do and what I teach is simply this. When you begin to notice these negative emotions that you're having, whether it be depression or anxiety or something along those lines, if you can't do it in the moment, then you can always reflect on it after the fact when you are in a better place. But the idea is to allow those emotions, because if you notice, what we'll do is when we start feeling anxious about something is we will avoid that by doing something else or changing what we're thinking about or distracting ourselves, right? We're avoiding that emotion because it doesn't feel good. And so that's a response, right? That's a survival response. That's a sympathetic response. That's very natural. But it's not healing and it's not helpful. What I want you to do now even with anger, in a safe place and never at somebody, is allow, not only just allow the emotion, allow it, but I want you to welcome it. I want you to love it because it's something in your past, most likely in your childhood, was not loved, right? And so that's what you need to do with that emotion, because that's how you integrate the emotion. That's how you integrate whatever that trauma is, whether it's physical trauma, emotional trauma, psychological trauma, or whether you even recognized it as trauma at all. That emotion is that God's opportunity. It's a gift to feel this and allow it, welcome it, and love it, and let it feel. What you'll notice is it's gonna ebb, and then it's gonna settle. And you'll notice it as tension in your body. And so if you focus on relaxing your body and allowing that emotion to come, and I'll warn you, when you start doing this work, you're gonna cry. Most of us have some pent up emotions and pent up traumas that are so trapped in our nervous system that we have years probably of tears that have not been released. And so when you really get into this, you're going to have a good cry, and you need to have a good cry, and you need to notice yourself resisting the urge to cry, because that means you're getting even closer. So allow the tears, welcome the tears, love the tears, allow it to integrate, and allow it to take its course. That's how you're going to begin to untangle a lot of the trauma that's trapped in your nervous system, right? And a lot of and that's what will open up the door to the next step, which is beginning to, as Paul says, renew the mind. Begin to start looking at the narratives. Begin to start looking at the stories that we tell ourselves about this person, about this event, about this place, those stories. And once you can really start thinking and meditating on these stories, you can begin to ask yourself the questions about, what do I believe about myself in this story? What do I believe about other people in this story? What do I believe about God in this story? We're not created to just simply survive. We're created for each other. Does that make sense? And so once you begin to separate from that narrative, identify those beliefs, you can begin to start dismissing those beliefs, because if they're not true 100% of the time for everybody, then they're not true. Okay? We can look at it that way. If they're not true and validated in Scripture, then they're not true. So then the question is, what is true? And that's the later practice that we get into on beginning to rewrite those beliefs. But once you enter in through the emotions and start allowing those emotions to heal and to integrate, you can begin to start looking at the narratives and the stories that you're telling yourself and about people and about Christ and about the world, and begin to recognize that they're simply just not true, because you can start picking up the beliefs, and one belief at a time begin to work away until you get to the point where your river is no longer full of jagged and rough-edged rocks, right? These beliefs are beginning to smooth out, right? And then we can start doing the practices, the meditative practices, the scripture practices, the scripture reading practices, and a lot of the things that I teach, begin to integrate and dive into who we were created to be. And it's from that place, once we get there, that we can begin to discover who we are created to be, but even beyond that, what we were created for, purpose and meaning. And that's when life really starts to begin to get fun, because now life becomes creative, like the God we were created in the image of, right? So there's a lot of things that I want to share with you and I want to teach you. Obviously, I can't do it all in this one video, but I will say this. If this is something that resonates with you, if this is something that you really want to begin to do, I'm giving away a free copy, an ebook of my book, Shadow Fire. It's in the description. I'm giving that away. I want you to have that, and I want you to start there. And from there, hopefully we can keep in touch and we can begin to maybe do a little bit more work. Trust me, you'll get a lot out of the book itself. It's very much a self-discovery book. I don't like the idea of self-help, but self-discovery book. It's a story that most of us, if we're veterans and first responders, will relate with and resonate with. And it's the beginning of my life's work. And so with that, I really hope to connect. because I'm going to ask for your email in order to give you that book. But I really hope to connect from this point forward. All right. So with that, God bless. Thank you and take care.